respects to the flags to be led by Councilman Beatrice Thompson. Please rise.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today to ask for your wisdom and guidance as we begin the city council meeting. We thank you for the city and for the opportunity to serve as citizens. I ask that you please grant the mayor, my fellow council members and staff the discernment to understand the needs of this community and the ability to make righteous decisions for the common good. Help us to engage in meaningful and respectful discussion and to work together with a spirit of integrity and service. We ask that you guide our thoughts and actions so that we may govern justly and bring about order, stability, and prosperity for this community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes of our October 27th meeting have been distributed. Are there any corrections or additions to those meetings? Minutes?
We approve those minutes as read.
First by Mr. Steele. Second by Mr. John Roberts. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of October 27th pass unanimously. We have one item of old business, and that item is request second reading of ordinance 25-17 to establish a special tax assessment for rehabilitated historic properties. Mr. McEwen.
Mr. Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. McKeon. Mayor and Council, what you have before you is a request for second reading of an ordinance you considered at the last meeting, last city council meeting, and passed unanimously. We made a couple of tweaks to that ordinance, and I'll go over those here. This ordinance would adopt a special tax assessment for historic rehabs throughout the city. State law refers to this process, this ability for local governments to do this, as the Bailey Bill. Several other communities around the state have used this successfully as kind of a linchpin, a backbone to their historic rehab programs. Essentially what it does is it would freeze the assessed value of a project for a period, and I'll get to the tiers in just a second, for a period, for a length of the incentive. Essentially what that does and how it differs from the normal process, essentially when a project is completed, a certificate of occupancy is issued, tax assessor comes out and reassesses the property at its current value, and then that undoubtedly rises, and a lot of times that provides a cash flow difficulty, uncertainty for commercial projects, for income producing projects for the first 5 years, 10 years, 15 years even of the lifespan of that project. And so essentially what the Bailey Bill and what our proposed assessment would do would freeze that tax assessment for a period of time based on the level of investment that is undertaken. We had some comments from council members. I believe Councilman Martinez mentioned this previously, that we need to take a little closer look at the terms, the period, the tiers, the period of investment. And so we actually, you'll notice that change in your drafts that you have in your packet. We increased those by 2 years to account for the construction period, 2-year construction period. So we moved, instead of a 5-year period at the base tier, we increased it to 7, and so on and so on. But those tiers, again, I mentioned, are based on level of investment. For any project under $2 million, there'd be a 7-year freeze of the assessment. For any project between $2 and $5 million, there'd be a 12-year assessment, or a 12-year freeze. And for any project over $5 million, would be a 17-year freeze. Happy to answer any questions. I will say, I believe a couple council members have received a couple of emails from the public essentially requesting to lengthen the period of time, lengthen the term, kind of change the tiers, essentially make the incentive a little bit richer. Our proposal, based on previous discussion, has been to And it really hits at how the city of Anderson approaches incentives across the board for any project. Is we really don't want to over-incentivize a project ever. Anytime we offer an incentive, the city of Anderson is dealing with taxpayer money. We're dealing with public funds, and so we have to make sure we account for that and handle those appropriately. And so our approach has always been, and very successfully, I will say, has been to finely tune and tailor the incentive to the level of investment. And so we want to make sure that we have the appropriate, just enough incentive to spur capital investment. Obviously, if you don't put enough incentive together, sometimes that investment doesn't happen. So you have to put just enough to make that to use a pejorative term, the rabbit bite the carrot, right? You have to have an attractive enough carrot in front of that rabbit to have that project be successful. So we've chosen this tiered approach, and I think it's going to be successful. You know, and honestly, the good thing too about having a smaller incentive on the front end is if, say, we're not getting the pace of projects, the pace of redevelopment that we're expecting, we can always add to that and make that incentive a little bit richer if we need to in the future. However, if you start high, it's hard to roll that back. You can't really roll that back. Happy to answer any questions again, but staff does recommend approval on the second reading.
Great, I appreciate it. We had a good discussion at our last meeting where we approved it on the first reading in regards to the comments that we made, and I'm appreciative of you, council is appreciative of the team going back and changing those. But I'll open it up to an additional question. Mr. Steele?
I just had a clarification. I want to make sure I understood the end of what you said correctly. So if we determine, look, this isn't really helping these redevelop these historic properties in the way that they want to spur that, we can revisit these tiers in the future?
Of course, yes.
Okay. Well, with that, last time I asked some questions about timing. I'm glad that we have this new guidance from this new administrative law opinion. Thank our council for working hard to find that and make sure that this got before us. I'm thankful that staff has worked hard and again, taken input from council and the concerns that we have had to move this forward. I think it is something that does provide that incentive. As you said, I think we have to be responsible with taxpayer money. We certainly want to encourage free market investment, right? Like that's our economic system. We want people to come in and say, look, I am going to put my capital here because I think that it can work and I can make my money back in the long run. But sometimes, particularly when we want to preserve these important historic landmarks that have been part of our community for a long time, preserve their historic integrity, we do have to meet people in the middle. So with that and knowing that we can revisit this if this doesn't provide the opportunities for investment that we need, I would move that we pass this on second reading with the amendments as noted.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Steele, second by Mr. Newton. Further discussion? Ms. Stewart?
I just want to make sure I understand, the process that this would happen is, David, would they come to you first for preliminary certification, or would they go to the bar first to get, to make sure that it qualifies? I just want to make sure I understand what step comes first.
Yeah, we are designing an application, an online portal application for this, and so we're putting that together now. But Andrew, if you want to go through that process.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The first step of the process would be essentially like we do rezoning referrals now at City Council. It would be an acknowledgement and approval by resolution of council that yes, this project qualifies. And then it would go to the Board of Architectural Review for preliminary certification. So that's really essentially when the clock starts on the assessment freeze. Then, assuming the Board of Architectural Review approves the project and it qualifies, construction would then start. Permits could be pulled. Construction starts, and then when construction is finished, our staff and the Board of Architectural Review performs that final certification that essentially acknowledges, yes, you did what you said you were going to do, and you spent the investment the way that you said you would spend it.
So once the Board of Architectural Review approves it, nothing comes back to us as done, and contractor moves on, our owner moves on, rehabilitating, is
That's
that
right.
correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And I guess if there's any discrepancies, as always, we deal with any BAR decisions and approval, they just follow the same judicial process to rectify those decisions.
That's right. That's right.
Mr. Roberts? Jeff?
You mentioned, and that was a question, you answered it actually, the clock starts when they apply, correct?
The clock starts on the preliminary certification.
All right. We historically have not extended incentives past 15 years. Why not start the clock or the period of time after completion of the project and roll it back to the 5, 10, or 15 year? Because the property hasn't accrued any significant value during the construction period, only after it's
Completed.
reassessed and completed.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's one that we asked last time, and it's really, and Mike and Brandon are here, can answer any detailed questions or pull me off stage if I answer this incorrectly, but essentially it's just the way that the state law is written, that preliminary certification starts, or the freeze starts at the preliminary certification. The issue really is us in establishing this tiered approach. Kind of creates an odd clock, if you will. We added, after council meeting last time, we added those 2 years to kind of account for that, what would ultimately be that 2-year flex time, just to lengthen that term to account for that, the lag between the preliminary certification and the final certification.
What financial gain would it be for the owner during those 2 years? Because like Councilman Roberts said, there's nothing that's really meaningful that increased until the project's completed.
Yeah, it was a period that's under construction. So the intent when we laid out the tiers, the 5, 10, 15, was to stabilize the cash flow of a developer or a building owner restoring a property that otherwise isn't cash flowing well, or is projected not to cash flow for 5, 10, 15 years out. So, and then keeping in mind that they probably have a small business tenant coming in as well on the retail side, that also wouldn't put pressure from the landlord to that small business tenant on as much pressure for them to get stabilized as a upcoming new business. And so when you look at the construction period, so adding the additional 2 years onto the tiers, you say, well, there's no cash flow coming in there to stabilize for the tenants. And so the goal is and our intent from the beginning was really for the tenant to stabilize the cash flow period. So there's no cash flow period during that time of construction.
Yeah, they're not receiving any revenue during that construction period. So that was to basically extend the effective 5 years, that bottom tier, 10 years to the middle, and 15 to the final.
And that's mainly on the commercial end of it. Residential is the same?
It would fit the same tier system. However, practically speaking, the investment levels would be lower.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if that answered.
Well, somewhat, but
Somewhat.
I still have a little hesitation on the extending it 2 years. It all relates to where you start the clock.
right.
But Brandon and Mike, maybe one of you can address that, but in accordance with state law, they're saying the clock starts then. Well, I guess we have the tier system, but they're saying the preliminary certification, that's an important piece of the front part of it for the freezing the tax assessment value. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Mayor, members of council, good to be before you again. Yes, I guess part of the answer is just that's kind of the way the statute is written, that there's a preliminary certification process, and then the value is set upon that preliminary certification. And it's set for 2 years. Previously, the draft before y'all had the total duration of 5, 10, and 15 years, which included that 2-year preliminary period. And so we adjusted that, I think, at Councilman Martinez's suggestion that, and I think we intended to try to address what you were saying there, to have that 2-year construction period not eat into the overall incentive period. So that, I know that partially answers your question, but I think maybe the better answer is that just the way the statute is crafted, that preliminary certification is the date on which it's set, the value is set, and under the statute, it's also set for 2 years at that point. So I think the property owner is going to get the benefit of the locked value for that 2-year period anyway, as opposed to starting at final certification.
Thank you. Other questions? Mr. Stokes?
How do we certify how much money they actually spend in the project? You know, so say I'm spending $2 million and they said, man, we just cut some shavings and we spent 1.8. Now, how do, but somebody could be getting attacked, you know, who is, what's the checks and balances there?
Mike, can you address that in the ordinance as well? I know that's specific in the ordinance as far as how that is, and that there's actually a clawback.
That's right. The part of the Board of architectural reviews process at the final certification, they confirm, verify that the amount that was actually spent on the project, what was asserted, was actually spent. And if it was not, then the project gets decertified, and any foregone taxes that should have been paid will come due, and they lose the benefit going forward.
So
That would be planning and development, right? Mr. McKenzie?
Yeah.
Would be on that process of collecting the amount of money that's been completed during the project and handing it back over to the bar? Correct?
The funds would go back to the taxing districts, but the Board of Architectural Review would confirm that the expenditures were enough to get the incentive. Is that what?
Yeah, I
That
think,
question, okay.
and eventually we've got to get it to the taxing authority.
Correct.
So the bar would actually hear it to begin with. After you get the preliminary certification, they say, yes, it's done, and then the owner does the project, and then it goes back before the bar the second time to certify that they have spent the money that they actually said they were going to spend, and then that's where it goes.
That's right. At that point, the assessment continues on as originally implemented.
All right.
Good question. Any other questions? Mr. Horgan? Then Mr. Martinez. Mr. Horgan, Mr. Martinez.
The additional, thank you for the update. The additional 2 years, I think, you know, if I was developing a property and I had a 5-year tax incentive, and you know, it's going to take me 2 years or a year and a half to renovate it, or 2 years to renovate it, you know, that's really just sort of a 3-year on a commercial property of revenue. And adding the 2 years, I think it would incentivize me to get it done faster, because the quicker I can get it, you know, generating revenue, the longer I'm going to be able to have my tax incentive. I might be wrong, because if they wait 4 years to start the project and they get it done in year 6, they're only going to get 1 year of, you know, retail, unless there's some kind of provision about when the time frame has to start, which I don't think there is.
They do. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go right ahead. That's all I had.
They do have to complete the project within 2 years of preliminary certification. So
Okay.
there is a stopwatch that starts ticking on preliminary certification.
Good. That's great.
Ms. Martinez?
Yeah, just to piggyback what Councilman Harbin was saying, and then I have one comment. Yeah, I think the effective benefit is still the same. I mean, if the initial certification, based on the way the statute is written, that value is going to remain the same for 2 years regardless. Now, to Councilman Roberts' point, if for some reason that language was written where we could just assess it when the project was completed, then I agree that would probably be the better method to do it. But I think we just basically baked in those first 2 years so they'd have 5 full years of benefits, or 10 or 15. So to me, I don't see the benefit changing. I think it was just semantics on how we had to write it. So I appreciate us adding those 2 years, because I would want the developers to maximize those benefits since they're making that investment. And the comment that I was going to add was, I just want to appreciate the boldness of the city of Anderson. I mean, this is a big step forward, especially when it comes to making investments and preserving history. It's so easy right now to talk about new development, new growth, but talking about preserving something that's very special and unique to the character of where we live, to me, that's something worth incentivizing. At the end of the day, adds true value to the longevity of where we live. So appreciate the hard work on it.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
I just
Ms.
wanted
Steele?
to clarify again, to kind of put a bow on what Councilman Roberts' concern was. The language of the statute itself prevents us from starting the clock at a later time for the preliminary certification, correct?
Prevents might be, it doesn't prohibit, specifically say you can't do this, but the framework of the statute doesn't make sense otherwise.
So the statute is written that says, okay, this is going to start for you.
Correct.
It's presumed that it's going to start from
That's a
that
good way
time.
to put it.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? I would say too, I mean, this councils and councils for, I don't know, Dr. Thompson, the last 3 or 4 decades have always been very proactive in establishing historic districts. I can't remember when we established the downtown historic district, but it's been within the last 20 years. And so we've always had a history of making sure that we preserve our history. Once you tear it down, you can't build it back, so to speak, like it was. So good job on everybody's part. So we had a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you. On the second and final reading. 3 items of new business, and the first item is request consideration of an ordinance providing for the April 7, 2026 general election. Mr. McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Section 51550 of the South Carolina Code of Laws provides for the municipal council to establish by ordinance the time for conducting a general election. This ordinance before you does that. The next general election is scheduled for Tuesday, April the 7th, 2026 for the municipal council for mayor, for the seats of mayor, seats 1, 3, 5, and at-large seat 7. The final period for the candidates begins Thursday, January 15th, 2026 at 12 noon, and following is Thursday, January the 29th, 2026 at 12 noon. The last day to register to vote in the April 7th, 2026 election is Saturday, March the 7th, 2026. This is on first reading, and we'll need another reading at our next meeting.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments, clarifications?
Mayor, it just so happens this is my wedding anniversary date, and assuming that I seek re-election, it affects me as well. C3 is in here. So therefore, I move that we set April 7th as election day.
So April 7th is the wedding anniversary.
April 7th.
All right, cool, we remember that. So first by the Mayor Pro Tem, second by Mr. Harbin. Any, Mr. Steele?
I just briefly want to comment. I'm grateful for these city elections. I think there's a lot of people out there, individuals and organizations, that spread false information about what the city does and how we conduct ourselves. But I am grateful that regardless of all the negative that is out there, that we have plenty of people who are willing to step up and run and participate in our democratic process. So with that, I hope that this will be another great election and another opportunity for us to move our city forward.
Thank you. Anything else? First and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously on the first reading. Our next item of new business is request consideration of a resolution relating to declaration of intent by the City of Anderson to reimburse certain expenditures made prior to the execution and delivery of a federal tax-exempt equipment lease purchase agreement or issuance of federal tax-exempt bonds. Mr. McEwen.
As part of our capital improvement plan and also our budget this year, it included or it did mention it actually won't be expensed right away into the budget as far as the lease purchase or the debt service on this. However, it sets up for the purchase of 2 fire apparatus, which is your next item on the agenda that Chief King will go over. And this is necessary to help us with the financing, provide the structure for that. And Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Martin, will go over the remainder part of this.
Thank you. Yes, as the chief will go over the next item on the agenda, he is requesting a purchase of a new fire truck and a rescue truck and the necessary related equipment. Due to the production delays that we have had in the past, the city is requesting approval of a resolution that would allow the city to reimburse itself for any cost incurred prior to the issuance of the capital lease or tax-exempt bonds. The resolution was prepared by our bond attorney, who happens to be here tonight, Mike Burns. The city last approved a capital reimbursement for fire equipment in October of 2022 and received those trucks in January of 2025. Estimated annual debt service payments will be $285,571 based on 10-year borrowing at 4%. Of course, we will reevaluate that at the time of the debt service. And so we are requesting approval of a resolution 2509 authorizing the city of Anderson to reimburse certain expenditures made prior to the execution and delivery of the debt service, not to exceed $2,350,000.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
Just want to clarify that, we still haven't decided whether we're going to lease the vehicles or purchase them, is that correct?
Yeah, either way, we don't lease the vehicles. It's just a terminology in government finance, the lease purchase. And so the structure here is just providing the lease purchase agreement, if you will, but it's not leasing the vehicles. It's just it's a method of borrowing. Or if we do an installment purchase revenue bond, as we plan to do when we actually go out for debt service for Fire Station 4, and do we combine those, do we roll it together or not? It's to provide flexibility in that.
This would be similar to the lease purchase we did when we purchased a bulk of city police cars in the previously.
Yes, sir.
Garbage
Exactly.
trucks
I'm
and
good.
all
All right,
those
thank
kind of things.
Good. Anything else, guys?
Make the motion to approve.
First by Mr. Newton, second by Dr. Thompson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes unanimously. Our last item of new business is request consideration to purchase 2 fire apparatus. Ms. McEwen?
Okay, I'll call Chief King to go over the requests for purchase.
Thank you for the opportunity this evening. As you're aware of the current fleet that our Anderson Fire Department operates every day, 3 engine companies, a ladder, a heavy rescue truck, a shift battalion chief, and grateful for the opportunity to operate those trucks and serving our citizens. But as we continue to see growth in both land mass of the city and in citizens and visitors that come here every day, so does the need to improve that fleet to match that growth. The first of the 2 requests tonight is for a fleet addition to match the upcoming construction of Fire Station number 4 on the east-west connector, and to be able to have a fire apparatus to place into that station. The second is for a replacement of the existing Rescue Company 3, a 1996 model E1 fire truck that's currently stationed at Fire Station 3 with 2 personnel on board it. Both of those trucks would be purchased from Spartan Fire Apparatus out of Spartanburg, manufactured by the Pierce Corporation out of Wisconsin with plants in Florida and Tennessee. Both trucks would be constructed to match the engine, the specifications of the 2 trucks that were recently delivered back around Christmas time, and then the rescue vehicle would be built custom to the needs of our firefighters in service to the citizens. Both of those are the construction and purchase price of the truck, as well as the equipment needs that both would have. When we recently purchased engine 2 and 3, we did so with a very light equipment load. We were able to move existing equipment from that those two apparatus onto these, but with Engine 4 being a new resource and a new station in a new area of our city, it requires a complete equipment complement to go with that. And Rescue 3, with it being 30 years old, while we have taken every opportunity we could in that 30-year time span to replace some of the equipment, there's very much of the equipment of that truck as well that needs to be replaced. So our ask tonight is for the purchase of an engine company 4 and a rescue truck from Spartan Fire Apparatus at $2,300,050. Both of those would be constructed with a delivery time agreement of 12 months. So just shy of Christmas 2026, we would see both of those trucks ready to go in service to serve our citizens.
Thank you, Chief. Questions, comments?
Chief, can you briefly mention our ISO rating?
Anderson Fire Department continues to operate an ISO Class 1 fire department. That's a fire department grade, a grade of our existing water system and our communications that exist in the county.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that also helps people with homeowners insurance.
Very much so.
Thank you.
Good insurance question. Anybody else? Good.
I'm just gonna make a motion that we approve the purchase to request 2 fire apparatus and an engine and a rescue truck.
Second that.
We have a first by Mr. Stewart, second by Dr. Thompson. Further discussion?
I think it's a good thing because once Station 4 is up and ready, we're not going to be using equipment from the other departments, having to lease equipment or pick up used equipment as we've had to in the past. So I think it's a good thing. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate you staying on top of it.
And that motion is to purchase that for a contract not to exceed $2,350,000.
Thank you. Anything else, guys? Good job, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All those in favor say aye.
Before you get that, I want to really notice that you have an invitation on your desk about the groundbreaking ceremony of the Franklin development on Murray Avenue. It's something that I've been working with, that all of us have been working with for many, many years, and finally, it's going to happen. I hope I'll see you there on Monday, November the 17th at 10 a.m. for the wonderful groundbreaking of the Franklin development.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson.
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment as well.
Mrs. McEwen.
Okay, out of curiosity, if anybody knows the big eagle that's sitting in front of Mr. Strickland, let's tell you a little bit about that. So the eagle was received by the city at a banquet in Charlotte, and the city, due to y'all's vision and creativity in the project of Lindley Park, is now an award-winning Lindley Park. And so the city received the 2025 Eagle Award and the $10 million to $25 million category at the ABC Carolinas Excellence in Construction Awards banquet on November the 6th in Charlotte. This is an annual competition that recognizes outstanding projects by general and specialty contractors across the Carolinas. And the awards are judged by industry experts, including engineers and architects. It was our pleasure for the mayor, myself, and Andrew to go up and to receive the Eagle Award for Lindley Park on behalf of the city and bring it back. And so I believe this might be one of many for our new award-winning park.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It was a good. Before I adjourn, I see some Leadership Anderson people in the back. So appreciate you guys doing your projects and participating in our meetings. Thank you for coming. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
First by Mr. Horgan, second by Mr. Newton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.